For this task, we're now looking at multiplication and division expressions. So the first example says the farmer's market is selling bags of apples. In every bag, there's your key word that tells you this is a multiplication. There are 3 apples. So the first thing we need to do is complete the table below. So they already started it for you. If there's 1 bag, there's 3 apples. If there's 2 bags, that would then tell me that I would have 6 apples. 3 bags. Again, you should be noticing very similar to previous task. Only difference is now that we're multiplying. So the next one, to figure out if there's 3 bags, I'm simply going to multiply by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to do the same thing for 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And lastly, now if I have a variable, same thing's going to apply. That pattern's going to stay the same. I'm just going to take b times 3. Or remember, we're trying to get rid of those x's as multiplication. And with multiplication, you should also realize that we could always just put the number first and then the variable. And that's a way to show multiplication. So you're just going to take 3b, or 3 times b. Alright, let's work through the rest of these problems. Number 2, if the market had 25 bags to sell, how many apples would they need? Okay, so if I have 25, I could extend my table, but that would take me way too long. So let's just use that pattern and my expression here of 3b. So I know if I have 25 bags, I'm going to use that expression 3b. All I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in 25 for b, because that's how many bags. So 3 times 25. 3 times 25 is simply 75. So they would need to sell 75 apples. So there's our answer for number 2. Number 3 says if a truck arrived that had some number a, so there's our variable, and that variable represents more apples on it, so a represents the apples, write an expression to show how many bags the clerks would use to bag up the apples. So this time I know my variable is now a. So I know this variable. I'm trying to write an expression that would tell me how many bags. So let's look at the pattern here. So if I go from apples to bags, what math is getting done here? So as I draw again, go ahead and try and think to yourself what's happening. So it'll go from 3 to 1, or 6 to 2, 9 to 3, 12 to 4. We are dividing by 3. So my pattern, my expression is no longer going to be multiplication. Since I'm going the opposite direction in my table, we're going to be dividing. So my expression, if I have a apples, to figure out how many bags, I'm simply going to take the number of apples and I'm going to divide by 3. So there's my expression. Now, last question, if a truck arrived that had 600 apples on it, how many bags would the clerk use to bag up the apples? So I'm going to use this expression that we just came up with. So we're going to rewrite it down here. A divided by 3. I know I have 600 apples, so I'm going to substitute 600 in for A. 600 divided by 3. 600 divided by 3 is 200. So we're going to type our sentence that the clerk would need 200 bags for those apples. And there we go. So the rest of the problems are very similar. You're going to be writing multiplication and division expressions. So again, make sure you're using those tables to help you figure out those patterns of what math you're using.